Welcome. This is the CHRILLCAST. I'm Will.
And I'm Andrew.
All right, Andrew, we have a pretty titillating topic today about game consolidation and basically like all of the studios getting bought up in this kind of it's kind of like a buying war that Microsoft has with Sony, but also there's other players getting into the game now. So there's rumors of Amazon trying to acquire, and even Netflix possibly trying to acquire. So that's our overarching topic. We might sprinkle in some discussion about the new PlayStation Plus and our thoughts on Game Pass so far.
Yeah. And you mentioned Amazon too, and I think it's kind of forgotten, but they actually are they have a game studio that they did start getting pretty active with. They had a pretty interesting online MMO, I think, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, Amazon is making some money moves for sure.
I mean, if you look at how much they spent on Lord of the Rings just for the TV series.
What was the breakdown per episode? It's like 60 million an episode or something crazy like that.
It's insanity. But I guess for that you have to factor in that they have to include the price that they paid for the rights.
Okay.
So I think they included that, and that was like alone 200-something million. It was quite a lot.
I think they actually spent like $1 billion. I think I can look this up.
Was it actually $1 billion for the whole rights? I can't remember.
I think it was $1 billion. Yeah, I don't know who gets that money, but
was it like 200 million for maybe like the one season?
Maybe.
I can't remember the breakdown. The numbers have been the people who get the money is the Tolkien estate. There's a estate there.
Oh no. Okay. Hold on. Now I see two different numbers now. Now I'm confused.
Do you see the 200 million number? Because
I see the 250, but then right under it's like the $1 billion deal. So how does that work out?
I think that was based on seasons, because if you extrapolate that, I think they got it guaranteed for like 5 seasons.
Oh, so this is what it is. It's 250 million for the rights.
Okay.
Then 462 million for filming the first season.
Okay.
And then with like advertising, it's 1 billion.
Okay.
Imagine just having that money. That's ridiculous.
I mean, imagine if that's a flop.
Yeah, 1 billion. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that just brings perspective of how much money they're going to bring to their game streaming service. I guess they have Twitch too, right? Isn't that Amazon?
Yep, they own that too.
So they already have free advertisement if they want to pay people to play those games. But well, what's your take? Are you positive, negative? All right,
so the consolidation thing, you always get a little bit uncomfortable because you got these big companies buying up all these studios, and then suddenly especially with consoles, you have to worry about, is it console exclusive? Are these games usually are multi-platform? Or occasionally they'll buy one that was only on PlayStation or only on Xbox, and they'll convert it. So you always have to worry about the restriction aspect, and then also worrying about the dying off of AA studios. I know there's definitely like a 10-year period there that really seemed like there was only the AAA studios and there was like super independent. There was no AA, and then AA started popping back up again, and now they're getting bought. So that part worries me a little bit. But there are quite a few studios still that are independent or under a different publisher. There's also new ones popping up frequently, and there's a lot of new players getting into the game. We're just talking about Amazon is one of them.
Right.
So I think there's always going to be there'll always be more competition. So even if Microsoft buys everyone, there's always going to be someone else.
See, I see what you're saying. I lean towards it being good, mainly just because I think the frenzy of money that's going to be involved with it is going to, some of those people are going to be bought out, right? The people who are creative enough to start these AA companies, they're going to be purchased. They'll probably potentially leave, right? If they don't necessarily align with whoever purchased them, and they'll just sit on the sidelines for a little while. Maybe they'll go pursue their own pet projects. And in the meanwhile, I personally see it as like you're going to get a big consolidation, which kind of will focus behind certain um, protocols or standardization across the industry. So with VR and all of that, and now the streaming services for gaming, I think it needs to be centralized a little bit just to get that standardization. Like what will be the uniform protocol going forward, kind of deal, and then they'll all burn down in like a phoenix, right? Because they'll overextend. That money that Amazon threw out just there on Lord of the Rings, that's not sustainable. They're never gonna make. If they did that with a game studio, do you really think they'll make their money back?
No, there's no
doing
way.
a streaming service. There's no way, right? So the best thing you can hope for is that they create a really good streaming protocol that the next generation of studios is going to utilize. That's how I view it. So they'll probably have like a really nice peak where everyone benefits. Then it's going to stagnate. You'll get the EA, the EA treatment of some studios that y'all like, and then people will get frustrated. They'll leave those companies and join the people who made a bunch of money right before all this, who are now starting new studios. That's kind of how I see it playing out more than anything.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. I think that's probably a very good assessment of how the industry is going to go. Something I am worried about is the consolidation of game engines. So
right.
I'm not sure if it's a problem or not, because for a new person going into the game industry, like you're going to the school or whatever training you would need for that, it would be much easier to only have to train on, like, say, Crytek and Unreal, versus
Crytek, isn't Crytek ditching theirs? I thought they're ditching theirs.
That was a for instance. So okay. How about Frostbite and Unreal? So it's easier to just only know a couple versus like every studio having their own. But it also like is where we get all the individual flavors that every studio brings to their games. So if everything is Unreal, I mean, it's going to be hard not for everything to like kind of play a little bit samey, look a little bit samey. So like I'm more worried about that, like the artistic expression that individual game engines allows their developers, and also you get those weird glitches and the bugs that everyone loves about certain game engines. Like the Halo one is great. I love the bugs that are always in the Halo engine. And the Fable engine was so janky, but I loved it,
Right.
And if everything goes Unreal, then it's like, well, they have a dedicated team making sure that's the most perfect engine. Everything's going to look exactly the same.
Right. I see what you're saying. Maybe they'll be able to build on top of it still. There's going to be less of the groundwork aspect, so you could still see a lot of uniqueness with how people utilize it. I mean, there is that benefit, right? Where maybe the creativeness aspect of how you make the game mechanics will actually improve because they'll have less time dedicated to keeping the framework. I don't know. At the same time, if everything starts feeling samesies, you're gonna get that like studio that decides to go a completely different direction still.
Yeah.
Because that's what the market will ask for. You'll get someone who makes something ridiculously low budget and just hits a home run, and then you'll open the floodgates on that. Just kind of similar to the consolidation factor for where the studios are going.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. And also, like I said, it would be easier going in. So like a lot of the industry is based off contract work. So being able to take contract workers actually already know the engine, and that you don't have to train them at all. They're just actually modifying the game world instead of like learning the tools. Games they might end up saving a ton of money on that because you won't be taking nearly as much time. So the games could be more expansive even. I
think the biggest question mark more than anything is where the streaming's going. I think that's I think the biggest danger is that everyone's going to have their own streaming service, and then games are going to kind of get stuck behind the streaming service paywall. And now you're going to have your subscription for all your game studios. and your streaming services for movies and TV shows. So you're just going to be one big wallet rotation of what streaming service do I want to pay for this month versus next month. It's kind of the same thing.
It's interesting you bring that up because the movie streaming services seems to have hit its bubble, and the bubble seems to be popping right now.
Has it hit the bubble? That's a legit question, because you currently have what? Discovery has its own streaming service. You have Paramount has its own streaming service.
I think there's 50 or 60 of them.
Seriously, there's that many?
Yes, and so I actually just listened to a podcast on this, and so there's like 50 or 60 of them, and Netflix's shares have plummeted because they lost like 200 million people or something. No, 200,000. Sorry.
Are.
But Disney has too, so Disney also lost a bunch of people. Those are the two that they covered. So I don't know if the other ones are losing too, but those are
the two big ones. Apple's okay though. I think Apple has gained because they've had some good shows lately, and people just got it. Well, they had that whole free entry thing when they got the new iPhones. So I think it's a question of how many people just keep it after their subscriptions end. So I guess that would have been with the most recent iPhone. So we have a year to see where that ends up.
Yep. And right now I don't pay for any of them. So I have Peacock for free because I have internet. So it came with my internet. That's the only one I use.
Yeah, there's Peacock, which Peacock is kind of has the same concept as Hulu right now with the ESPN model. So if you want sports, there's like Peacock and ESPN, and those are what you need to have for sports if you don't want cable, right? So it's like everything has a streaming service. Fox has the streaming service, which there's usually a way to get around paying for that one though. So it's good.
Well, the CNN Plus, they just canceled it.
Yeah, that's also a weird one since CNN was actually free on cable.
Yeah. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. What they should do is do the is it Peacock that has it already? No, it's
for
one of the streaming. It's like HBO or something has it where they already have it combined with the news service that like corresponds with that network.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's Peacock has the news MSNBC on it or whatever, I think.
So yes, because Discovery bought Times Warner, which bought CNN. And Time Warner owns HBO, so it would be CNN would be added to HBO.
And if we're being completely honest, Discovery already has their streaming, don't they? So why would Discovery Plus want CNN Plus to be a separate thing anyway?
Exactly.
So it's like, also it's like when it comes to the news, who's really watching the news not live anyway? That's the real question. It's like, why wouldn't you just make it where it's included in an already established?
I think they had exclusive shows. Like Chris Wallace or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like right now you're just gonna have the streaming bubble again because you're gonna have. I mean, Google's still insisting on Stadia, aren't they? I haven't heard anything.
I don't know. Is that still a thing? I thought they gave up on Stadia. Let me look this up.
That would be great.
I mean, I haven't thought about Stadia in like a year, so
I think it just exists, if I'm completely honest.
It just exists.
Yeah, that's because they weren't even developing their own games, right?
So maybe that's what they did. They shut down like their game studio. That's what I'm thinking of.
Stadia isn't dead.
Yeah, no, you can still sign up for it.
Stadia Games and Entertainment is dead.
Okay.
So they're not making their own games, is how I interpret that.
Yes. It's just a streaming platform. And the thing is, but like I can stream with Game Pass. So why and also with Steam. So what's the point of this?
Right. It's just a Google streaming service to pair with their YouTube Plus or something.
Well, it's like the Google Glasses is going to be, revolutionary, and then they fizzled out in like a month.
Well, that's because they couldn't get rid of the vertigo. Right? People were getting sick wearing them. So it was kind of that thing where they just couldn't get the tech there.
Yep.
So I think the same thing happened with Stadia though, right? Wasn't Stadia it felt early as how I would describe it.
Oh yeah, the pricing model is really weird and exploitive, and it felt like a beta product.
Yeah, it wasn't polished, that's for sure. The rollout was like, hey, we have this, and hey, gamers, we know you already have the gaming consoles, but why don't you buy this as well?
Exactly.
It's maybe if they had like tried to integrate it with the established consoles, I'm sure they could have maybe convinced somebody to do that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and they didn't have like a browser on it, and it's freaking Google, so that didn't make sense. You couldn't play it from the Chromecast stick, I don't think, at first. Like they had controller syncing issues.
Well, also, you know what? I don't remember them saying anything about. There's no YouTube integration, right? So it's like, how are you not trying to compete with like Twitch right now? Like, why not make it where all the people who are doing gaming videos on YouTube automatically have Stadia integrated to just instantly stream, cast, all that? It's like, wait, what was their thought process? It clearly they just were like, hey, we think this is cool.
Yeah.
We will try to make some money on it, but we're not going to actually put like a strategy together.
And they also were charging full price for games that were already out for a couple of years. So like,
oh yeah, wasn't it like I forgot that it was like actually purchasing the games too. It wasn't like just stream.
Yep. No, you pay $60 for Destiny 2, and at that point you get it for $10 on the Xbox.
Yeah, and all digital.
Yep.
Not even on a console that you can play, just in your house, not connected to the internet.
Yeah, and you also had to pay for the service of Stadia. So
yeah, it was double dipping.
Yes,
to the extreme.
What they should have done was come up with the cool streaming tech and have it integrated into YouTube, like, and start competing with like Twitch or something, and not want to make money on it. So I mean, like YouTube and Google didn't make money at first. They should have just been like ate the not crow, but taking a hit on the like earning money at first, and just like let people adopt into it.
Right, and I think at least with Amazon, I don't think they are doing a streaming service yet. I think they're
have
focused.
Luna. What is that?
Do they have Luna?
Yeah, Amazon Luna.
I know they have the game studio division, which is just making games, which they put on Steam. I know they allow them on Steam, but
here, I'll bring this up so everyone can see it. Oh, wrong one.
And the one game they made was New World. That was like their big thing.
1 second. Oh yeah, I remember New World. That's actually really popular, isn't it?
Is it popular? I never played it.
I haven't either.
I know they have a second game. I don't know what it is, but it's like Lost Ark or something.
There you go. All right, so it says play your favorite game straight from the cloud.
Okay, so they have that. So they have the streaming service.
And it's $10.
But I don't think their games are actually on the streaming service. So
I mean, they're definitely not advertising their own games.
Yeah, they're not advertising the 2 games that they've made out of their studio.
Here's another one.
I just looked
Ubisoft
up
Plus.
But that's part of this, right?
Yeah. So speaking of Ubisoft, that's another one that there was rumors that someone's going to buy it up
too, with their shops.
EA Origins. You get this cool controller with the purple circle.
Someone's trying to buy Ubisoft right now?
Yes. Have you heard anything about this?
I did not hear anything.
All right, so there's a bunch of rumors that they're shopping Ubisoft around. They're kind of struggling. They're still making money, but in the last couple of games have been a little bit lackluster. They're kind of getting burnout on their Assassin's Creed games, their Ghost Recon games, and like the Division games. Those are the big ones.
The Tom Clancy's, but that's kind of the same as Ghost Recon, if we're being honest. You have Assassin's Creed, and then you forget about it. But don't they have like the Just Dance and everything?
Oh yeah.
So Ubisoft though really struggles with outside their couple main AAAs, which have just been kind of like the Call of Duty effect, right? Where it's like the same thing to a certain degree, and people get burnt out because, yeah. Well, okay, Assassin's Creed started getting burnt out, if we're being completely honest, because they stopped having truly compelling main characters. Personal opinion, they stopped having compelling main characters. They did so well with Ezio, and then no character they have developed since has truly held up.
You okay there?
I have a corgi, and it decided to make noise for some reason.
Okay. Yeah, so I agree. Yeah, that's definitely true why Assassin's Creed hit the stagnation. And people aren't not nearly as interested in it. Also, they went to the RPG model was interesting, but then they went into like lots of stuff, like a lot of cosmetics and loot box type items that you can buy.
Yeah, they made it tedious.
Mm-hmm.
There was an organic blend that they had at one point. I think when they kept the game's overall like maps small, even Black Flag, people liked it, but it was a bit big of a map.
Mm-hmm.
I think Assassin's Creed 3 was a decent sized map for the way they did the open world. They also didn't have too many items to craft. Like the crafting was relatively straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
But recently, yeah, they've gone kind of to the extreme.
Yeah.
Open world.
There's rumors that Microsoft is interested, Sony, and then a third party, someone like Netflix could be interested. Do you have any opinions on who you would like to pick them up, if it's between those three or someone else?
Between Sony, Netflix, and who was the other one?
Microsoft.
My preference obviously would be Sony. But let's be honest, Sony has always done RPGs better, right? Like Ubisoft, no matter what, is like with Assassin's Creed games, that's gonna be the main title still, and that's a single player game. So if you want that to stay quality, maybe get a little bit of a break, get a partnership with another studio that's going to be quality, maybe Sucker Punch or somebody, then Assassin's Creed would be best served with a Sony purchase. Microsoft might like it for the fact of Tom Clancy, but is it going to get the love it deserves, or is it going to be just a skin on Call of Duty?
That's a hard call. I don't have much an opinion on this because obviously like I would lean like, oh, it'd be cool if I guess Microsoft picked it up, but it's like, man, they're buying everybody, and like you're saying, like it could just be this studio could get forgotten about.
Ubisoft is better off being stripped for parts.
So like buying individual IPs, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
But at the same time, okay, who wants Just Dance? I mean, Just Dance seems very Microsoft-esque. Something that they would want. I don't know why. It just seems like something that they would want. And then, but like Tom Clancy, Ghost Recon, all that. I just don't. What was it? Rainbow Six or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't see it getting the love it needs at Microsoft. It's kind of
but as far as like
shooters,
I mean, Microsoft is the shooter machine.
Right. But I feel like it would lose its identity and become Call of Duty.
Do you think that like Doom is going to become Call of Duty?
I mean, I think all shooters these days struggle to keep themselves not becoming Call of Duty.
Okay.
Right? Like for the generic like if you're not going to have a tactical element to your shooter, what stops you from going to the primal shooter experience that is Call of Duty? Right? And it's like the Tom Clancy games have always kind of had, they're kind of like the SOCOM games.
Okay.
Where there's that extra, there's that extra element to it where they want you to be tactical and use gadgets, use whatever.
What about, speaking of tactical, they own Splinter Cell, don't they?
Is it Splinter? Do they own Splinter Cell? That's,
I think they do.
Yeah, because it's part of the
Tom Clancy, yeah.
Yeah, everything Tom Clancy is Ubisoft.
Well, I would like Splinter Cell to go to Xbox because I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know why, but that feels right.
I honestly, for Tom Clancy, I think it's like a flip of a coin here because Sony did have experience with those tactical shooters and giving them a lot of attention. Remember, they had Zipper, and that was SOCOM and all of that. But then, Zipper made some stupid choices that saw themselves get canceled out because they just didn't manage their own IP properly. At that point, I almost question if they had too much freedom. They weren't given good direction, and they shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah. Sony also kind of killed Killzone.
Right. But they also they got Killzone kind of up and running, so I could see it either way. I don't know. I as a Sony fanboy, I almost think Sony would be better for Tom Clancy's style.
Yeah.
But giving it a focus, it wouldn't be a focus of Sony's because they've never focused on shooters.
That's fair.
And I mean, thank God EA's not on this stupid list.
What about Netflix?
I was trying to forget that they were on the list, if I'm being completely honest, because why would Netflix go into gaming?
Because they already are. They've already put in a ridiculous, like hundreds of millions of dollars into a gaming division. They're going to release something like 59 games by the end of the year, I think.
Wait. An actual gaming division that's developing their own IPs?
Yes. Hold on. I'll look this up for you.
What the hell? Is this going to be included in the Netflix subscription for an extra $20 a month?
Hold on. We'll see. I will, before I read through the article, I will go ahead and bring it up so everyone can see it.
I have the feeling, vibe, that Netflix should focus on mobile gaming.
I think that's what they're going to do. I think it's mostly mobile.
Right there. Okay, so compete with like Zynga. Let's keep it there. That's better for them. Mobile games. That's not that impressive then. When you're saying 50-something games, it's like, okay.
Still, that's a ton in a year. And having, Ubisoft.
They didn't say how good the games are going to be, man.
I'm sure they're all going to suck.
Now, if they wanted to buy Ubisoft, that's going to be them trying to integrate Just Dance.
Yes.
That's going to be they're really doing it for Just Dance, and then the other games will be like, we don't know what to do with this, but if we ever decide to make it serious games that are not just mobile friendly, then yeah, they're the last people you want to buy it if you want Splinter Cell and all of that to survive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was reported that Microsoft really didn't want Activision, but someone like Amazon was trying to buy them. So that's why they suddenly just that deal came together in a month.
I think, well, okay. If we're completely honest, if Sony was trying to buy Activision, I think Microsoft would have bought them too. Too much of Activision is a major draw on the Xbox for them to risk that being negotiated away from them. I think Activision literally is that one studio that Microsoft could not afford anyone to like have them in a headlock over, right? Because Bill Gates isn't on friendly terms with Bezos. I don't think he's on the friendliest of terms with any other major gaming studio at all, right? So it's like anyone buys Activision, and I think Activision starts being a pain in the ass for Microsoft's gaming division. Everything becomes a if you don't do what we say, we're going to take it exclusive somewhere.
Yeah, and I don't see Microsoft being okay with that.
Yeah, like they would even make it where, oh yeah, you can play it on PC, but not Xbox consoles. Like it could get as petty as that. And I mean, people would get that petty.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm sure.
So it's happened before. So yeah, the biggest surprise to me was that they bought but didn't they buy Bethesda?
They did.
So that was the surprise to me. I wasn't expecting that.
It was a shock at the time, but like once I reflected on it, it wasn't that shocking. So if Bethesda was like shopping itself around, it would make sense for Microsoft to buy it because Bethesda was always either fully exclusive or like timed exclusive to Xbox.
I mean, they had a good working relationship.
Yeah.
I guess if they were shopping themselves around purposely to get purchased, then it makes sense. But like, it doesn't strike me as something that Microsoft would have needed to go out and buy.
No.
You know, it's like it's one of those things that feels like an unnecessary purchase, unless someone else was trying to take and steal them away from. Like that's the one thing I would say that both of those deals have in common. Activision and Bethesda are like two deals that give me the impression that Microsoft just determined that they were two studios that they could not risk losing to another entity that would be unfavorable. It doesn't seem like something that they would have attempted to do unless there was a threat, right? A threat to, because both studios are like foundational to, I think, Xbox as a console probably existing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, do you think Ubisoft is big enough where they would be like, no, we're going to take that one too? If they can. I mean, the Senate's already trying to block Activision.
See, I don't think so. Because I don't think that's their gamer base.
Okay.
Right? Because tell me what you think of when you hear Ubisoft. What do you think of first?
I mean, obviously, I think the first game is Assassin's Creed. So
exactly, right?
Yes.
And then if you think shooter, what do you think?
Halo.
Halo. What do you think second?
Call of Duty.
What do you think third? Battlefield.
Battlefield would be third, yeah. But I'd have to think about the third one because I wouldn't necessarily go that deep.
Right. That's my point. So you're already 3 deep on an Xbox, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So all the Tom Clancy's would be fourth tier shooters. Microsoft doesn't give a crap about them, and the single player experience for RPGs has always been heavily slated towards Sony. So
but
I
Microsoft wants to change that. They're buying a lot of those studios.
That's the thing. If they're with them buying Bethesda, do they want to take and completely change that dynamic? I don't know. I think that's the question of if they want to take this. I think that will define if Microsoft has purchased Bethesda and Activision out of not desperation, but a pure defensive strategy, or if they're going on the offensive for a console war. Yeah. I think that would be the defining moment.
How about I pose this question? What studio makes more sense for Microsoft to buy if it is an offensive? If they're buying these studios offensively, not defensively.
Honestly, I do think that though that Ubisoft would probably be a pretty strong purchase. Taking Assassin's Creed away from, like, taking Assassin's Creed just by perception. I know it's kind of a dying.
Yeah, well, even having it where it's still multi-plat, but it's on Game Pass, and they don't allow it to be on PlayStation Plus. That would be a big win.
That would be. I'm trying to think of another studio right now, though, like independent studio that's got such name brand recognition. Because I'm also in this scenario, I'm assuming that Microsoft goes like all the way, right? They make sure that the next Assassin's Creed has no hurt for money, no hurt for scheduling. It's purely whatever it takes to make it like the reiteration of Assassin's Creed 2 for franchise importance. Right? I that's my perception. Because that's what you would do if you're trying to go to war on a console war and change the whole what is best for single player.
Yeah. What about EA? Do you think anyone would even attempt to buy that studio?
No. I think EA is too big.
I thought that about Activision, so Activision was shocking to me.
See, that's the problem. Like, that's why I just think EA is too big, but for also like egotistically too big.
Okay.
Like, I just think they're too big, and so they would be impactful, right? But I guess it's a question of how good do you think the next Mass Effect and Dragon Age will be?
Not.
Because that's what you would be trying. That's what you're trying to steal, right? If you're trying to go to war on it, I guess Battlefield, but
Battlefield as well, and then also all sports games.
Yeah, all the sports games. Now that's where it would make sense. Actually, I think Microsoft has always tried to be perceived as the sports game console. No, but who makes the NBA game? It's
2K.
Not EA, huh?
2K, and
yeah,
I believe
2K games.
It's Take-Two, right?
Take-Two, yeah. Now I wouldn't be surprised if they bought that.
Yeah, I mean, Take-Two also owns BioShock, don't they? And also, do they own Rocksteady, or not Rocksteady, but Rockstar?
I thought Rockstar was active. Wasn't that? No, wait. Is Zynga? No, who has
Zynga owns
Rockstar?
Bethesda. Well, it used to own Bethesda. Okay, Take-Two Interactive. Let's see.
No, they do have Rockstar. Okay. Rockstar, 2K are their two main divisions.
Microsoft bought that, they would get Grand Theft Auto, Borderlands, Red Dead Redemption, and 2K. That would be a big one.
I think that would be that's the one to purchase. Now that's a war. That's a console war. That's bigger than EA. That's bigger than Ubisoft for relevance.
Yes.
Especially taking 2K. I feel like just culturally speaking for gamers, like there's a lot of people who would probably like that's like taking FIFA off the board, right? I think 2K sells just as well, at least in the American market. So that'd be pretty big.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about buying like CD Projekt Red?
No, they would never do it. Microsoft wouldn't. Sony would. I could see Sony.
Why don't you think Microsoft wouldn't buy that?
I think I can only really think of. I don't think it's big enough to be the war shot that we're talking about.
Okay, fair.
Right. That'd be more like Sony consolidating itself. in response to Rockstar being taken off the board.
Okay. Yeah, no, if they got Rockstar, that would be
taking Rockstar off the board would be really big.
Yes. What about taking WB games off? It's obviously not as big as Rockstar, but
right,
still quite a few IPs.
Yeah. What game would you say is the best? Would be the most important one lost?
I mean, if you took WB, it would be all the Batman games. There's a new Wonder Woman game coming out, but there's also Mortal Kombat. And
I guess they are really going out with all the new ones, aren't they? But then again, it just doesn't.
And this is like one day ago, Warner Brothers. I'll share the screen actually.
I have my biases here, right? It just doesn't seem like a Microsoft move. Grand Theft Auto does. Like, that's the thing. There's something about the Rockstar games that just feels Microsoft-esque, strategy-wise, for how they've played the console perception. Whereas the Batman games doesn't. I don't know why.
Yeah. So and also they have Harry Potter
going for sale. That's my question.
What do you say?
Why is everyone going for sale?
I don't know, because like this is one of the most profitable branches of Warner Brothers, so I have no idea why they're selling it.
It doesn't make sense because that Harry Potter game is going to be freaking money printer.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be a money printer. They don't have to do shit for that. That's going to be making them so much money.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know why Ubisoft is for sale. I mean, literally, they could just axe the middle management.
They make sense. Ubisoft makes sense. They've been stagnant. When have they come out with a new IP?
They really haven't come out with a new IPs. They're just kind of changing existing IPs.
Yeah, which they should have just come out with new IPs, if we're honest. I think perception would be a lot better if they didn't want to make everything Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, well, did you see the new Assassin's Creed is going to be like just a live service now?
I did not see that.
Oh my gosh.
I stopped paying attention to Assassin's Creed news a while back.
Hold on.
They still have never done Japan, which is the one thing everyone wanted.
Yes, I know. And it makes so much sense.
But here's the thing. They should have done it not as Assassin's Creed, though. They should have just made a new IP.
Yep. Okay, it's called Assassin's Creed Infinity. Because everything has to be a variation of that word now.
Like I said, stagnant. Maybe this mass purchase of studios is going to be great. This consolidation, they can stop pretending like they have different creativity and just merge mind already, and then anyone who doesn't want to be in that hive mind can leave and create new studios.
That's a good point. Like a bunch of like the really smart developers get a bunch of money, and they can just form their own studios and come out with something new. Finally,
I'm starting to wonder if some of those places are just struggling to manage the size of their current studios. Probably. And they want to bounce and start something new.
Gosh, it's a terrible idea.
Everything has to be a service.
Yep.
It's always a service.
Mm-hmm.
Makes no freaking sense why they can't just be creative.
Oh, did you see the rumor that Bethesda might be working on a Mandalorian game?
Bethesda?
Yeah. Not necessarily Bethesda itself, but one of their studios.
Right.
That could be
well, remember that one Star Wars game that was never released? But it was going to be like ridiculously good.
Yeah, like 1332 or something like that.
Yeah, it was that one. It was like actually ridiculously good when they showed the video of it, and then never even really got announced. It was just one of those things where they later on
Star Wars 1313.
Yeah, that one. It actually looked really good from the gameplay trailer, and then apparently.
Yeah, they couldn't turn it into a live service game, so they're like, no.
No, they couldn't figure out how to do a loot box in a single player game, and they were like, shit.
Yeah. Oh man.
They would have printed so much money with this game, I bet.
Yeah, I don't understand how this game doesn't a version of this game doesn't exist yet, because this is such a cool concept.
Highly developed too. I think it was like it was pert near ready for release.
Who makes these decisions?
I don't know. I don't know when it was canceled. It might have been canceled as part of the Disney deal.
Oh, maybe.
Search on the click on the one that says why did Star Wars 1313 get canceled? Yep. There you go. Blame
Thanks, Disney.
Blame Disney.
Yep, I do.
Yeah. I mean, LucasArts got basically. Who was producing this? Did they have their own game division?
They did. So they gave it all EA. So remember how EA had all of the Star Wars games?
Yeah.
But they split it now. So now EA doesn't have it. There actually is a Lucas Games again.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of studios working on stuff.
That's what happened. They gave it to EA, and EA's like, shit, there's quality here.
Yes, that's true.
We can't have this thing release ready for market. It goes completely against our business model. It has to be a bit more glitchy.
Yes.
Okay, dustbin.
There has to be a 36 gigabyte day one patch.
Exactly. So clearly it was never going to get made. Also, Disney probably didn't want something gritty at the time.
Yes. And also something that was conflicting with the new canon that they were creating.
Oh, yeah. The new canon. I don't know about you, but I hated those movies.
I did too. I really when I first saw The Force Awakens, I really enjoyed it. There was things that made me worried about it, and obviously it was a retreading of the original, but
right.
I was excited. And then that second movie, my jaw just dropped, and I actually felt offended, personally offended.
Okay, so I'm a cynic, right? I can be very cynical. I had
no idea.
I was cynical. I was so cynical after the first movie. I saw a lot of things that concerned me. I didn't like the direction that it was going with it. Okay. But there was still hope, right? Cynically hopeful. The second movie. My friends and I just left bitching the whole time. We walked out of there we just were laughing because it was so bad.
It was so bad.
And we just we were shit talking the movie during the movie. That's how bad
I laughed out loud during the Mary Poppins scene.
Right. We also so at a later date, another friend and I, we did a drinking game with the first two movies because it's okay, were these really that bad? Yes or no? And we had to stop drinking after 20 minutes into the film because we kept finding objectionable things. I forget what our criteria were, but it was Mary Sue moments, obviously. Yes. There was the unnecessary merchandise marketing with the different creatures.
Yep.
Just cringy as hell moments. Yeah, we found it was one every 2 minutes.
So that fight choreography in that second movie too, when they're fighting the Praetorian Guards or whatever.
Oh yeah.
That you actually they screw it up a couple times, and there's actually a couple scenes where the guy is about to stab her and she misses her mark, so he just kind of pretends he missed or something. And how does that stay? It's a couple $100 million film. How does that mistake stay in the film?
My problem with that whole film was the fact that it was a whole lot of nothing.
Yes.
That second one was a whole lot of nothing. And
subverted your expectations. You expected it to be something.
Right. And then the third one is well, okay. My problem is I think it's obvious, right, that they changed directors.
Yes.
because the entire direction of the story totally changes.
Yes.
And that second film is a whole lot of nothing because that what was his name? Something Johnson, right?
Yeah,
He had to,
or something. Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he had to completely like change all course to do what he wanted to do with that last film.
Yep.
And it had nothing in common with that first one.
Yep.
The direction that they could have gone with, all the positives, even the concept of going like that people were hoping for where they would be more gray.
Yeah.
Right? Like everything that they could have done that was good. Just yeah. Like even the concept of maybe, I don't know, letting Kylo Ren be the survivor.
Yes.
Right? Like, all things that could have been good. They just like, no, we must have the perfect Rey.
Yeah, the thing is like that's so terrible. The whole movie, all those movies suck so bad. But like Kylo Ren's arc is actually sort of interesting, but it's buried under so much garbage, and
Right.
it's just, oh my gosh, it's just so bad.
It's like that's why we needed this video game, but no, it was destroyed by
Yes.
that
Yep.
trilogy.
They
At
killed
least,
it for this movie
at
trilogy.
least
Yep.
they gave us the Mandalorian.
Yeah, the Mandalorian's pretty good. I actually have not finished it yet. I got rid of Disney Plus. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, but
I only have it because it's tied to my Hulu and ESPN Plus subscription. So
yeah. I have you played the Fallen Order game yet?
No, I have not.
It's okay.
Is it? Okay.
It's not a great game, but it's fine.
Okay.
There are definitely moments that I really enjoyed because there's like really like big set pieces that are pretty fun.
Right.
And I like the direction that they went to. I really love, what is that? What's the studio that made that? They made Titanfall.
Oh,
Respawn. I really like Respawn.
Yeah.
They basically, the Jedi character is not overpowered at all. You're very weak, and you feel that the entire game, and that's the point.
Okay.
And not to ruin it, like everyone's seen this on the internet, and it's technically canon, so you know you don't beat Darth Vader, but you see him at the very end, and he just kicks your ass immediately. Right. Basically, there's a scene where you're like, oh, you think the game's gonna let you fight him, and you've built your character up for this moment, and he just immediately stomps you. Like you can't even get one swipe in.
Okay.
I was like,
I mean,
yes,
like
this is
accurate.
This is the way it's supposed to be.
Right. I like it. It was a story. It's actually a story. It's not a you change. It's like they're telling you a story.
Yes.
And you can't change the fate of this story. But they don't want you to know that until you hit the end.
Yep.
So that's actually really good writing.
Yeah.
But
no, it's good.
Yeah, you know what? If I'm trying to think of the EA's sub studios and divisions and stuff, and it's like Respawn would be a great steal.
I would love for them to get that.
If you could steal them with Titanfall and everything, because Titanfall could be done well.
BioWare, DICE.
BioWare and DICE, yeah, both of those would be steals, I think. I can't think of. I mean, there's the sports division.
Yeah, who even makes that?
EA Sports.
Oh, okay.
Pretty
that
sure
makes
it's
sense.
EA Sports.
Okay. I guess I'll look it up. Let's see who they own.
Yeah.
Why are we trying to do this off the top of our heads?
Well, we're just thinking of the ones that you'd actually want to buy.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that EA's too big. They just seem too big. I know Activision seemed too big, but I don't know if they're EA big. Like, I don't know.
They own EA Tiburon in Orlando, EA Vancouver, EA Romania, DICE, BioWare, and Respawn.
Okay.
Let's see what IPs
So we
they
basically
have,
got them all. The EA locations, I think, are like their sports and stuff.
Yep. So they have obviously Battlefield, Need for Speed, The Sims, Medal of Honor, Command and Conquer, Dead Space, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Army of Two, Titanfall, Star Wars.
Oh no, that's a game. No, that's a game I would like to see a new one come out for. Army of Two.
Okay.
That would be good. They haven't done that game in a long time, have
No,
they?
I think they only have 2.
There's 2, and those were PS3s, I thought.
I have it on the Xbox, so they definitely came to it at some point.
No. I'm saying generation.
Oh yeah. Yep.
PS3.
No, you're right. It was the PS3
They skipped
Xbox.
the whole previous generation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one's due.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It'd be nice for them to actually come out with something new. Ish.
Right. Did they make? They made Oh, they also had Mercenaries. That game hasn't gotten love in forever.
No,
But
yeah, that would be a
was that
unique.
DICE, or was that one of the other studios that they shut down?
I will let you know in a second. Yeah, because they had like Pandemic Studios, maybe.
I think that was Pandemic. Was that Pandemic? Yeah, I think that was Pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it was Pandemic.
And they shut them down. Was that right?
Yeah, they did shut down Pandemic. I will look it up right now. Mm-mm.
Closed operations in 2009.
Yep.
Oh, they also shut Visceral Games, right?
Oh yeah, Visceral Games. Yep.
But they still own all the IP, right? So
yes.
Maybe they go back to, well, Visceral did that one shitty Cops and Robbers Battlefield.
Hardline.
Oh yeah, that's why Dead Space hasn't had a new game, because that's Visceral.
Yes.
Dante's Inferno. Okay. Sims.
It'd be really cool if they redid Visceral, like they remade the studio.
Oh, Pandemic did Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
They did the Battlefront games, didn't
And
they?
Battlefront, yeah. So they did a Lord of the Rings game.
Oh, Conquest.
Yeah.
Hmm.
EA has shut down studios that I think were their better.
Yeah. Basically, it wasn't Madden, so they didn't want it.
Right.
I'm surprised they haven't shut down BioWare yet. I hope they sell BioWare before they do that.
They can't. They just literally cannot shut down BioWare. You know they can't.
You know, I mean, another interesting pickup for Xbox would be THQ Nordic.
Oh yeah, I always forget about them.
Yeah, they're buying up everybody as well. Like a lot of the little studios.
Yeah, I'm trying to just figure out who has the best IP to.
I think we already hit it on with Take-Two. I think that would be the best one.
Take-Two is the shots fired. That's like a TK. Like you're really hitting them hard if anyone buys that. That's bad. Like that's almost a nightmare scenario, right?
Yeah.
To not be able to say you have Red Dead or GTA coming out for you in the future, it's like, oh, that hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely hurts. At that point, do they do a bidding war? That's my question. Because if I was going so like my response if I was Sony, obviously Nintendo never factors into these debates. So if my defense, if I was Sony, right, I would be focusing on trying to counterbid just to make Microsoft sink as much money into that as possible.
Yep.
And then in response, I would take the same exact amount of money and buy multiple other studios for less money without having a major bidder against me. So it's like at that point you'd have to go, I don't know, buy Ubisoft, take Assassin's Creed off the board, maybe buy go get the who else? Yeah, go get the makers of Witcher.
CD Projekt Red.
Yeah, and then maybe even Nordic.
Maybe some. Well, I guess Sony obviously has Japanese studios. It would make sense if Microsoft could ever figure out how to do it to actually buy a Japanese studio.
I don't know if they would. They could. They actually
they could buy Sega.
Hasn't it been brought up before that there's special rules to buying things in Japan?
Yeah, like the government has to allow it or something.
Yeah, I don't see them allowing it.
Maybe they could.
Sony should buy them, or Nintendo.
Yeah.
Honestly, Nintendo should be the one to buy
Sega. Yeah, that would make sense. And it would help me out because I already have Nintendo products, so it'd be nice to have access to it.
I mean, it would make sense, right? Having Sonic in the whole universe.
Mm-hmm.
You could put him in Smash Bros.
What if Microsoft, buys these studios, but with the expectation that they will always stay multi-platform? It's just that they'll go on the Game Pass.
See, this is why it's weird to me. Because I don't see it being this console war that for purchasing right now. The reason my gut instinct was to say it's defensive was the fact that they do seem like they are trying to get away from having a console.
Yeah.
Right? They seem like they want to be the streaming service for games, not be like, if anyone wanted to be concerned right now, I think it would be Steam.
Okay.
Right? I feel like it's bigger risk that they're going to war with Steam than other console producers.
What if they bought Epic?
Oh my god.
Speaking of streaming, I mean,
no,
I don't
they
know if
wouldn't
they
be
want
able
the
to
Epic
buy
Store.
Epic, right? I don't think they would be able to make enough money. That's owned by the Chinese now.
Oh,
Isn't it Tencent? Yeah, Tencent.
Oh, let me see.
Believe. I know I don't have Epic Games because I was under the impression that there was Chinese spyware involved. So, yeah, double think your choices.
Let me see.
As I make sure I don't have Epic Games on my computer.
Well,
I believe it was purchased by Tencent.
This sounds familiar, but I haven't found it yet. Let's see if I can just actually just search that. Oh, so yeah, Tencent owns 40% of Epic Games.
Yep.
So who owns the other 60%?
I don't know. I know, terrible response, but I really don't know. I think that they just were a minority stake purchase, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
But I bet it's not owned explicitly by Epic Games. I bet there's some other player involved.
Yeah, probably.
But
I mean, didn't Tencent donate to Bungie too, though?
Well, let's look. Let's see who Tencent has, because I mean, I'm not a huge. They have League of Legends.
Yeah, so Bungie got a $100 million investment in 2018, but Sony was still able to buy them. So Sony owns Bungie now.
Yeah. Good choice.
Oh, no, it wasn't Tencent. It was NetEase. Sorry, it was another Chinese company.
But yeah, I mean, it's Tencent, Tencent Games out there. I don't know what their goals are, but I'm not a big fan of the Chinese companies in general.
Yes.
there's no transparency. That's my problem.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's fair.
never would ever own stock in a Chinese company because they don't have to submit the same accounting information. So also, you never actually own a real share. They're all holding companies through one of the islands in the Caribbean every time. So
Interesting.
yeah, you don't have the same rights as a shareholder if you own them versus an American company. Yeah. Some would argue that they're all a scam, but that's
some
would argue that. But you know, there's experts out there who probably have the opinion that is more factual.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That possibly explains why they're still allowed on the stock exchange.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I think it'll be interesting. I think we went through some good scenarios, and as much fun as it is, I don't think our scenarios for the console war being reignited is going to happen. So
Yeah, I know.
it'd be fun to watch the money get thrown around, see what comes of it, because Microsoft and Sony potentially bleeding each other into smaller studios being created might be an interesting play.
Yep.
But
Mm-hmm.
at that point, it would just speed along our theory of it. Big consolidation and then flame out real fast.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Right,
Anything
cool.
else?
No, I'm just curious when Microsoft's going to try to buy Nintendo again.
Never gonna happen. Okay,
I mean,
Sony buying Nintendo is much more realistic.
you think?
Yeah.
That would be a really weird combination. I mean, they hate each other, right? Is that blood feud still happening?
I don't know, man. I'm just saying it seems like it'd be more realistic because there's similarities in thought. When you look at what Sony tries to do with their gimmicks versus Nintendo, I don't know. It's the Japanese way. They like their gimmicks.
Yeah.
Their
But
consoles.
imagine just seeing the Nintendo symbol in blue. Don't like it.
Oh my gosh. It'd probably be more of a partnership thing because if one of them was having real business problems, I don't think they would ever be like owned. It'd be like a merger.
Okay.
Right? Like I don't see one. Could you see the Japanese government taking like the L on that pride pill with regards to letting Sony with or Nintendo be purchased? Like,
Yeah, probably not.
think of cultural icon aspect, right? Now that makes Sega seem so much more believable because they like failed. Right? They're kind of like the loser studio. So
Yes.
it's like, oh, you guys failed. You no longer make consoles. Yeah, you guys can buy the loser. Like, I just can't see it being like Nintendo or Sony. It's like, no, that would be impossible.
Yeah, that's fair. I wonder
Right.
if the rules have changed or laws have changed because, they at the very least entertain the idea of Microsoft buying them. They've like allowed themselves to get flown out, maybe just for the free dinner. But
right. Well, here's like, okay, let's look at it this way. I just, for some reason, I get the impression that whichever president / political party in Japan allowed Nintendo or Sony in some weird scenario to be purchased for gaming division wise, I feel like they would lose the election and have their entire political party just shunned for such an L. Like that'd be such a loss. And just be like, why? Why do that?
That's fair. All right.
Right? Because think about that. Like, I can see Sega being allowed potentially, as unlikely as I think it is, just because they would rather have it merge with the existing companies. But like, yeah. When you look at how many of those consoles sell over there.
It's true.
Does Microsoft even sell consoles in Japan? Like,
yeah, so actually, it's the fastest selling Xbox console this generation. It's still like being quadrupled in sales by PlayStation, but you know what was funny is that Microsoft actually had the most profitable like first 2 quarters or first quarter compared to all of them. So like it outpaced Nintendo and Sony.
so my question really comes down to though is Microsoft overperforming due to how hard it is to get a PlayStation?
Yes. So yes and
And
no. So somehow they bought prioritization for their microchips, so they're able to produce more Xboxes first, and then also, yeah, I think it's Game Pass. I mean, people are just buying Game Pass on different systems, so that's really where they're making their money. They're not even making it
right,
on the
right.
consoles themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they're making the money with the Game Pass now. It's kind of like how they were making money with Xbox Live.
Yep.
Which Sony refused to do for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
Which I respected. But
yeah,
I respected the lack of money hoeing. So, well, yeah, I think with the prioritization, right? I mean, a lot of people buy both consoles. I think we can recognize that.
Yep.
So anyone who was willing to buy both consoles is like, I can't get a PlayStation 5 right now, but look at all of these Xboxes sitting on the shelf like Beyond Meat during a hurricane. It's like, yeah, I can buy one of those.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to make that.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to. I was gone from the episode where I could make fun of you for buying a overpriced gaming PC. So.
yes. Mm-hmm. I still really like mine. Like the thing is, like as I explained in that episode, really the reason why I have it is just because I'm so locked into the ecosystem. They've got me, so I don't want to lose all that.
You could have made your gaming PC look just like an Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, eventually I'm going to do that. I don't have the space, nor like the real drive to do it yet.
Right.
I'm not going to claim I don't have time. I'm sure I can make time. It's just the drive.
Right. I mean, I definitely did the same exact thing. I'm not gonna lie. I waited to make one for the longest time, and then I found myself with more money than I was planning to have at one point. I was just like, screw it. Finally gonna build it, and then yeah, just like Chris, I had a ton of overtime, and then I was like, ha, money.
All right. Well, do you have any final thoughts, or are you good?
I'm good. I think it'll be interesting. I think that's well, okay. We should probably close it with answering the thumbnail question.
The
that we
thumbnail
had.
question.
Is it
What
good
is
or bad?
What is the thumbnail question?
Was it good or bad?
Oh, I don't know. That was too simple, Chris. You made it too simple.
Right. Conclusion, I would say it's probably good. There's an influx of cash. It's coming from the big guys, going to the little guys. They're not gonna. It's not like they can. Well, they can buy the studio, right? But they can't. They can't buy the talent. Right? If people don't like working for the big companies, they can always leave. They now have a bunch of cash from the deal to leave and go create new IP. If they're selling, they're probably bored of their IP.
That's true.
And
just to tack on the end of your comment, it's ultimately good because it means the industry is thriving. No one will be purchasing these studios. Like the ones, some of these they're not failing, but they're definitely stagnating, and people are not as interested.
Except for Ubisoft.
Yeah, like Ubisoft. And
I think they are failing.
Yeah, if the industry in general wasn't this thriving right now, no one would care, and they would just let that studio fail. So ultimately, it means that gaming is in a good spot.
Right.
And then we have a final question here.
I saw that.
Yes, that's why you have to keep buying new ones.
It would hit a peak but like, it's not any different than your console, right? I don't think the peak is the problem. I think it's the quality of the service and the games offered. And I just I don't know, it's.
Yeah. Also, I think it's just a bit of a different medium. So one, games are much more replayable. There's a lot more time investment into them. That you can have live service games that basically go on forever. So you don't necessarily, you won't like watch one season and be sick of the show. Like you'll constantly getting new content. So that's a little bit different. And also like when it's like each game is different. It's like considerably more different than just a new season. But you can also, if one IP doesn't do super well, you can switch to another one. So there's always a rotating
Well, to build on that, I don't know, Pro Evolution Soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So they changed their whole game model. They're no longer a yearly release. They're being like a service now, where it's just like the game exists, and if you want the update roster every year,
mm-hmm.
it's going to be like, I guess, a DLC concept. Yeah. So instead of having to buy a full game every year, I guess they're making it more affordable. They're just.
I desperately want this for Madden. I wanted Madden to do this for like 15 years now.
Right. It's weird though. I've been playing it a little. It's still super weird. It's not like it's. I don't think it has a good single player thing right now. Most of the teams aren't like available for single player, and then there's like a weird like merger between like your dream team, like ultimate team concepts with. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm still trying to understand how they did it, because its UX is really shit. It's as a FIFA fan, primarily a FIFA fan, it's like it's kind of has a really bad menu screen. And for everything. So if they did it for Madden and FIFA though, I think I would be a fan. I hate having to shell out for every year. And
yeah, honestly, like I'd be cool if you bought the base game, or like all base games, say like the base game's $30 or something,
right?
And you get like 2 or 3 teams, and then if you wanted more teams or new jerseys or updated roster, that's the DLC. Like essentially what you're saying. Like I would actually get back into those sports games because I hate the fact that you have to pay $60. It's the same game. They strip all the features out, so you actually have to buy like the $90 version anyway to get everything you had from last year.
Right, with all the stupid packs and shit for the ultimate team. I personally hate that. And then they also make it where they stagger the release, trying to make people pay more. Whatever. But if they made it like $45 for even 45, like up to that price, I'd be willing to pay that for the DLC of the new roster. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Streaming will be a big thing. That's probably really where that's probably the real driving force behind the acquisitions, more than a console war, as much as we like to theorize what is the danger of a console war.
Okay, well, I think we answered the thumbnail questions. So I think we can go ahead and wrap it up finally.
Finally, yeah.
Yes.
It's went longer than we thought it would.
Yeah, it did. All right. With that, I'm Will.
And I'm Andrew.
And we'll catch you on the next CHRILLCAST. Bye, guys.
Bye.